Hello, guys and gals, me, Mutahar, and we are talking about Nintendo and why you shouldn't actually listen to them. Now, this title is going to be a little wild over here, but the reality of it is that Nintendo is a company that makes some pretty decent games. For the most part, I play single-player Nintendo games, okay? I play my Marios, my Zeldas, not really Kirby, Fire Emblem. Oh my god, dude, I could nut all day about that game. But when it comes to multiplayer titles, all right, Nintendo is just not there, okay? When it comes to playing online, they've never really been there. Since the days of the Wii, the 3DS, the Wii U, and even the Switch, which markedly has gotten a lot better, Nintendo's been a generation a step behind. Now, Splatoon 3 just came out, and I like Splatoon, okay? I think Splatoon's a pretty solid multiplayer experience, you know? It's fun with the family, fun with your friends, but, you know, there are some connectivity issues. I myself haven't been running into them like crazy, but I've heard some people are dropping connections, okay? What do you expect? There's not dedicated servers. This is peer-to-peer, baby, okay? We're stuck back in 2004. The wild ride never ends. But you know what? Let's talk about the fix to it, okay? Now, Nintendo's provided some fixes, and boy, are they a little shocking, if you will. Now, this comes at us from the actual support.nintendo.com. I'm not making this up. This is all from the support side of Nintendo. Now, to understand, they want to teach you how to set up port forwarding for your Nintendo Switch console. Now, for those of you who don't know what port forwarding is, you might let me explain how the internet works, okay? All right, you've got the internet, you know, the big globe, all right, and you've got your computer, right? What's between your computer and the internet? You don't just plug your computer into the wall and bam, all of a sudden you got internet connection. No, you use things known as modems to connect to your internet service provider, which services you to the internet of large. But of course, everyone has a different internet connection behind the scenes. You probably got routers, Wi-Fi extenders, boosters, all kinds of network doodads all around your house, okay? Now, when it comes to interfacing with the, network of outside, I want you to think of it like this, okay? You know you have like a public-facing IP address, right, that identifies you on the internet? Well, behind that IP address, behind that modem, relies a router and all of your devices. Your gaming computers, your consoles, your smartphones, your tablets, Granny's vibrator if it's internet connected, who knows, okay? All those things have an internal IP address, right? Now, when it comes to your firewall, it has a bunch of ports, okay? Thousands of them, tens of thousands of ports available. Now, each of those ports has to be opened and closed to provide a connection to servers outside of your router, outside of your modem, to the greater internet of large, okay? When you connect to a server in Japan, all the way from North America, you're opening up a port to basically feed your internal data, internal network, all the way to the greater outside internet, okay? Simple explanation right there, about the most simplest I can explain to make it palatable for everyone watching. Even the most technologically illiterate should get this. Now, of course, when it comes to port forwarding, I've never had to do this shit forever, okay? The last time I had to forward a port, okay, was back in the days of the Xbox 360, the Sony PSP. Nowadays, most modems or routers have enough technologies, have enough UPnP to basically do all of this by magic, all right, behind the scenes. So here, Nintendo provides this information for our consumers' use. It's up to each consumer to determine what security needs they have for their own networks. Okay, the following steps are general steps that apply to most routers. Okay, so let's go down over here. On your PC, you need to make sure you understand the IP address, the subnet mask, the gateway. Okay, the gateway is basically the router's actual home IP address that you punch into your web browser to interface with. Okay, and of course, IP addresses, subnet masks, you should get it. Now, of course, they tell you on the actual Nintendo Switch console, all right, to have your IP addresses, make a manual decision over here, but the most important is on the PC. So first, you go to the router settings, all right? Now, to get to the router settings, clicking on this isn't going to do anything for you. The way that you figure this out is typically you have like an IP address that you can patch into. For instance, I'm on Linux, but on Windows, you would type an ipconfig into the command prompt, and typically it'll give you your internal IP address. So for me, this computer's IP address is 192.168.50.213. Now, you're not going to be able to hack me, okay? Oh, Muta, you leaked your IP address. No, this is an internal IP address, okay? You're not going to be able to do shit with this. But what you should be able to do is, you see how it is 192.168.50? All you have to do is open up a new browser. In this case, I'm going to type Microsoft Edge because I'm a little edgy boy tonight. we're going to do 192, all right, 168.50.1, okay? Now, once you hit enter on that, you should be sent to this page. Your page might be different. I have an Asus Wi-Fi router, okay? Now, you're going to have your own username password, all right? Yeah, once you sign into them, you'll be able to control everything in your router, okay? All the clients connected, everything, if you will, okay? So that's kind of how it works. Now, what Nintendo wants you to do is find the port forwarding settings, and when asked for an application name, you can title it anything Nintendo Switch related. Within the port range, enter the starting port and the ending port for the Nintendo Switch console from 1 to 65535. Now, you might be like, whoa, Muda, what's so wild about that? Let me explain something to you, okay? They want you to open every fucking port on the Switch console, because they didn't have anything defined in the system for themselves or the games. Now, to explain why this is bad, okay, in like Fortnite terms, let's say that you wanted to open a window, all right, to let the breeze in, you know, because your house was all warm and shit. Well, what Nintendo wants you to do is grab a goddamn sledgehammer and just tear down the wall, okay? See, the breeze comes in, as does everything else, okay? This is not something you want to do. Most people who are IT professionals or network technicians will tell you, God damn, that is like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That is like not having any decision. What Nintendo has basically done is said, hey, fuck it, we don't know what's going on either. So, you know what? Just expose those ass cheeks, if you will. Nintendo has basically put the most minimum effort they can in providing basic network information to the average player base for Nintendo systems. Now, there's probably going to be some fanboys that defend it, like, that Nuna, it only affects the Nintendo systems and consoles. Yeah, until one exploit gets found out and all those ports being open might lead to some other pivoted network on your system. Who knows? Now, typically, you do have to port forward sometimes, okay? Now, Xbox makes a pretty good diagram to show you what it is. You might know of terms like NAT types, right? Back in the day when I was playing Modern Warfare 2, me and one of my friends couldn't play together unless we had another friend that we could join onto. They would host a session, and the reason this would happen was because our NAT types were totally different. He had a very strict NAT, and I had an incredibly, moderate NAT, okay? So basically, we were not able to function together. Xbox will ask you, all right, is to open up certain ports on your system, specifically for their network connection, okay? In fact, they even tell you if you're connected into a school network, like a university, or if you will, or your office, then you would have to actually ask a network administrator to manually open selected ports. Now, in this case, when you go to the Asus, all right, Asus, I'm going to log in and show you exactly how this works, all right? So inside your router, typically what will happen is you'll find, for instance, in my router, it's in the WAN setting. So you go to the port forwarding, and you can actually just add profiles to certain devices. Now, what Nintendo didn't tell you in that set of instructions was to statically, list your Nintendo Switch. Now, on my system over here, you can actually see, hey, for instance, the games that it has, ports available for, and this is how old you can tell port forwarding stuff is. They've got Xbox Live, which I actually think they're referencing old school, original Xbox Live. Fucking PlayStation 2, all right? They've got port settings for that. BitTorrent and Age of Empires. Counter-Strike, not Go. OG Counter-Strike, boys. World of Warcraft. I'm sure that's changed. So, of course, what'll happen is, you pick your internal IP address, which would be, whatever device you have, right? Now, for instance, let's say that this MacBook was a Nintendo Switch. I would click on that, and then I would basically open up all the ports that Nintendo wants me to. What you should do is statically list the device. So basically force your router to give the Nintendo Switch its specific IP address. I think what's easier in this situation is to do a DMZ, a demilitarized zone, also known as a perimeter network, and basically exclude the Nintendo Switch just outside your router's firewall settings, so only it can be exposed to the giant goatsy and not everything at large. But my rule is you shouldn't even have to goddamn do this, Nintendo. Why are you out here giving some dog water advice when you literally could sit down, take maybe a few months out of your network infrastructure, out of your system, and find a way that players don't even really have to do this. In most cases, you definitely don't, all right? And when it comes to most people having modern routers and modems, you never really have to worry about port forwarding bullshit at all. This guide that people are sharing around and you start to see on headlines all over, for instance, this is a PSA on sites known as Nintendo Life. You have connection problems? We wouldn't recommend Nintendo Networks fix. because they're talking about Splatoon 3. Again, I would have to imagine the only reason Nintendo even posted that is a general fix catch-all term for any possible network issue on the Switch. You shouldn't actually follow their advice at all, but I think they actually posted it simply due to the fact that they couldn't diagnose each and every person's specific network issue, so they just fucking threw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? Now, I've seen this shared around a bit, and I kind of just wanted to offer my take on it, my little showcase. And you know what? To be fair, I wanted to help you all learn something, okay? You know, I know that I'm a prominent shit poster, and to be real with you, all right, when I'm not gaming, I'm shit posting. But sometimes in between the shit posts, we have to, you know, breathe, take everything into account, and do some goddamn learning. Hopefully today you learned what port forwarding is, you learned what NAT types are, and you learn not to follow the words of a goddamn Japanese company that can't get their shit together when it comes to online multiplayer. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and the Cyberpunk anime I heard is pretty goddamn good. So before I head to bed, I'm going to get a few episodes in, and Lost Judgment's out on PC, so again, if you haven't played that yet, you're missing out.